Oh, an error occurred. Hold on.
Shit.
We need like theme music or something, man.
I don't know. It said an error occurred. Wait a moment and try again.
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Still, an error occurred. Wait a moment and then try again. What the fuck? Nothing's changed.
That's a first.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Mess around here. See what's up.
Because you're not allowed to have technical difficulties, bro.
I know, right?
You know how they'll react.
There's no audio.
Oh no.
All right. Let me try this again. An error occurred. I don't want to do this where I have to write the fucking shit out again.
Do you want to just how about we drop out and then you send us another link?
That's what I'm saying though.
Oh,
Like, I already wrote like all the shit like that pops up on YouTube when you click on the link.
The scores and shit, yeah.
Well, the scores would stay because that's just a banner that a ticker that I can like hide.
You can copy and paste the other thing.
Yeah, but I don't know how to get to that.
No.
Let me see. Having issues. How can we help? Yeah, let me try again. All right. We are live. Finally, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we were able to work through it. Welcome into the Strictly Business Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Biz. I'm going to take you guys through Week 10 recaps, and then we'll preview Week 11. As always, I'm here with my co-hosts, Big Burley. How we doing today, John?
What up, boys?
Yeah. All right. And Triple D, Diamond Denver Dave. How we doing, brother?
how are you doing, guys?
As always.
Good.
Right down the middle.
You're doing good.
Right down the middle, Dave. Okay.
Deal.
Okay. Well, you two guys are coming off losses this week. How are you feeling about that?
I mean, my team put up 85 points, so I'm super fucking happy. I lost to a dude who put up under 100, so I feel fucking great. I had banked on dumb fucking Nico Collins coming back, and it bit me in the ball sack.
Yeah.
And then, I get to play roulette, pick one of three guys. I'll go ahead and go with the veteran who's got the highest yardage on fucking Vegas's bet lines, and yeah, we're cool. We don't need much, right? Picked the wrong fucking one there. Fucking
Yeah.
CJ Stroud missing a wide open Tank Dell. I texted you when that shit happened. I was like, that's it. That's the fucking week.
Yeah. And I was trying to be positive, and I was like, hey, there's still a lot of game left, but that was a tough one because Tank Dell was wide open.
Wide open.
And then when he saw him, he underthrew it, and it got picked off. So not only was it a 12-point play plus the yardage and the catch, it was a -3 for Stroud. So that was definitely a knife in the side for the week. And one of the reasons why your team only scored 88 points. Dave, talk to me. How are you feeling?
Dude, it's not hey, I gotta regroup. I gotta get a win this week. 6-4 is good, but I just need to have a healthy squad, dude. I just need to be able to perform on a weekly basis instead of a every other week basis.
I'm digging that hat, the throwback Bucks hat. That's a dope hat. When are they coming out with the orange creamsicle jerseys this year?
I don't know. I haven't seen any.
Don't they do it at least once a year?
I think it's up to twice a year.
Either way, they haven't done it
But
once.
before this year, it was just the white jersey and not Yeah, like not the orange creamsicle.
Sure.
But yeah, I dig the creamsicle jerseys for sure.
Well, it was a weird week overall in the NFL. I mean, the week started out with a banger on Thursday night. The Ravens and the Bengals, lots of points, lots of fantasy points, which we'll get into. And then the early games on Sunday were just duds. John and I were talking about this yesterday, how the underdogs were 10-2 against the spread this week. And I think the under hit a majority of games. I didn't calculate exactly how many, but I would say a majority, which means
That's definitely a Vegas weekend, right?
exactly the house raked it in this week for sure. But it also led to a weird fantasy week where we just mentioned John Mechie. John Mechie came out of nowhere. Obviously, with Nico being deemed inactive,
Sure.
John Mechie came out of nowhere. He had his first touchdown of his career. I mean, he was a really, I don't want to say great. He was a good wide receiver at Alabama with some hopes coming into the league. And then he got sick. Didn't he have leukemia?
Yeah.
And then missed his whole first season. He's kind of been battling back just to see the field. They obviously picked up Stephon Diggs this year, which just knocked him down further in the pecking order. But then they needed him. I mean, Stephon Diggs is out for the year. Nico Collins, surprise inactive for all of us, coming back off the IR with the hamstring injury. And then John Mechie shows up. I mean, you had your pick. You had Hutchinson. Who did you end up picking up, John?
Woods.
Robert Woods.
Literally, I just went to my fucking online sports book and looked to see who had the highest odds for a touchdown and the most yardage, and both of those were Woods of the three of them. So that's why I chose Robert Woods.
Yeah. Well, if you had chose Hutchinson, it wouldn't have mattered either.
It mattered, right? I had a 1-for-3 shot, and I was like, yeah, the veteran, he doesn't need it much. One catch, a touchdown would have fucking done it for me, basically.
Rough week for everybody. Yep. Rough week. Low scores across the board, but in the most ironic way, Carl got the high week of the entire season.
I mean, Burrow and Chase alone beat at least 3 teams this week.
Oh,
just Burrow and Chase beat 3 teams this week.
Wow.
Let's get into it. Week 10. We're going to talk about Carl's week for sure. We're going to start right here at the top. Bing bong gets another win. Rod Doggett didn't put up much of an effort. And Ryan did text me on Thursday evening. He's like, hey, congrats on the bye week. His team was beat up and had some buys. He had some key buys if you look down here in the bottom. Kenneth Walker being out. Pittman was deemed out. JSN coming off that big week was out. Green Bay defense as well. He's kind of in this quarterback roulette situation where he chose to go with Baker Mayfield. Baker didn't have that good of a game. It's probably his first bum game all year. 10.94 points, whereas Jalen Hurts, 4 touchdowns, 2 through the air, 2 on the ground, keeps it rolling. Tyron Tracy had that really tough last play of the game for him in overtime, the fumble, but otherwise had a great game. Christian McCaffrey's back, boys. I don't know. Did you guys watch that game at all?
Well, bits and pieces of it. Yeah, I mean, I had Red Zone on just from what I've saw in Red Zone.
I mean, he looked good. He played the majority of the snaps. I think Mason played 5% of snaps and Garendo played 2% of snaps. So the rest were McCaffrey. And he ended up with 19 touches, over 100 total yards. Didn't get in the end zone, but hey, it was his first game back.
Thought he looked a little of those 100 yards, though, most of it was on one big play, right?
It was a 30-yard reception.
30? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. But he ended the first half with like 27 yards rushing. He only ended up with 12 in the second half. Tampa Bay's defense did a good job of keeping him at bay. So not the best matchup.
Wild game.
Yeah, I thought he looked a little rusty. That game was nuts because as you'll scroll down here, my kicker is Jake Moody for San Francisco. This motherfucker missed not 1, not 2, but 3 field goals, which prompted Debo to get into a fight with their long snapper on the sideline. Do you guys see this?
Nah, I missed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Debo lost his shit after Moody missed his 3rd field goal of the day. I mean, San Francisco should have won this game by 2 scores. I watched the whole game, naturally. But Moody missed all 3 but got a chance at the end. And he converted at the end. I mean, I look at Debo as like, hey, man, I don't know why you're mad. Your kicker had 6 field goal attempts. Why is that not on the offense for punching it in? You had 6 field goal attempts, which means you're moving the ball, but you just can't get it in the end zone. I think they had 1 touchdown, and that was that crazy play where George Kittle, it was a breakdown scramble, and George Kittle made a great catch, toe tapped in the back corner of the end zone, sideline of the end zone for the touchdown.
Great catch. Great
Eckler,
catch.
Yeah, it was a great catch. Eckler with 2 touchdowns. I mean, he had a rough day. Let's just break this down. McMillan with 0. He also had tipped in for start with 0. Neighbors didn't do much. Ferguson, Robinson. I mean, you look at his team, 13.6 out of Derrick Henry on Thursday night, and that was the high score for the week. Your kicker is your second highest scorer with 13. Really not much to talk about here. I mean, my team didn't play great, but played well enough in a week that scores were down to get a win. So Bing Bong is 7-3, raw dogging it, falls back to 5-5, and is now fighting for his playoff life. All right, Dave, you ready for this?
I'm ready.
128.94. Sticky Nicky Throat Pie Guy with 174.8. Phil moves up to 7-3. Dave, you fall to 6-4. Is Phil's team legit? Is this for real?
It was legit on Sunday.
Well, it started on Thursday with 40.
Phil's teams is stacked. It's nice. He's got the number 1 quarterback, possibly the number 1 running back right now, and he had the number 1 besides Burrow. He had the number 2 quarterback, number 1 running back scorer this week, and his defense balled out too. So
Dave,
yeah, man, I got the L.
Am I crazy? Before this week started, it was probably Tuesday, and I texted John this, so he's in the know. Phil was proposing Lamar, Bijan, and Zay Flowers for Jalen Hurts, Christian McCaffrey, and Devonta Smith. And I declined it.
What?
Yeah, I declined it. And this is why. Phil and I play week 14 in what could be for the division championship. And Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers are on a bye week 14. Plus, Bijan has not had his bye. All 3 guys that I was giving him, Hurts, CMC, and Smith, all have had their bye.
Gotcha.
I told you on Tuesday. I'll tell you again. I think you fucked up not taking that.
Yeah. It was only CMC's first week back. I sat on him all season. It's kind of hard for me to pull the trigger. I mean, this was before these games.
I know, but I think game theory would tell you to fucking cut that chip while it has the value now, because you're talking about a dude coming off of double fucking tendonitis in his Achilles.
And there's always that concern that it re-aggravates it. We'll see how practice goes. I mean, it's only Wednesday morning.
When you talked about Bijan and Lamar, I was like, fuck, man, how do you turn that down?
Again, it came down to the week 14. That was it. And the fact that Bijan hasn't had his bye either. That to me, it's like you got to eat all 3 of those bye weeks in a critical push.
It's a crafty thing, but like, I don't know. Are you playing for a division or are you playing for a championship?
Well, so if you get the bye will help you for the championship. If you look at how the playoff seedings sit right now, I'd be playing in the first round. if I win the division and I finish first or second in the league overall, I get that bye, which is huge.
Hey, I understand. I just would have played it a little bit differently.
And then
I would have looked at your record and your upcoming schedule and said, I'm in a good enough shape that I just want to build a fucking robo monster, and like your squad with Bijan and Lamar might have been that.
I think CMC can be that Bijan though. I do.
Then yeah, that's somewhere that I'm just not sold. But
Hey.
I went into the draft saying I've finally convinced myself. Like 2 days before the draft, it turned into head over heart. Right? My heart has not been into CMC all off season. Anytime we talked about it, right? It just wasn't there. And right at the draft, I was like, yo, we talked right before the draft. And I showed you my 1 was CD, my 2 was CMC, right? So I would have walked into the trap if you would have fucking said it. You take CD, I take CMC, and here we are, right?
And the season's much different.
Exactly. But what should we have both done? We should have both gone with our heart, man.
Well, and then in talking about schedule, I look at team schedules, right? So Lamar here, at Pitt, at the Chargers, home against Philly, that week 14 bye. Then he's at the Giants. But again, if you get the bye in the playoffs, that game doesn't matter. Then you're playing home against Pitt and at Houston. I mean, it's okay. I mean, is he matchup proof? Yeah, probably, but still tougher matchups. And then you look at,
I think he is. This year at least he is.
Well, and this is really, I mean, you look Washington, at the Rams, at Baltimore, you can throw all over them. Week 14, Hurts plays Carolina in that must-win against Phil. Then you play home against Pitt, at Washington, and then Dallas in the championship round. To me, that's a much better schedule. I mean, Pitt is the only defense that you're really concerned about here, and you're at home against Pitt. Lamar plays Pitt twice. That's kind of what it came down to, is schedule, matchups,
Gut.
Yeah. And then, and Bijan couldn't be higher right now. I mean, look at this roll he's on: 24, 26.8, 20, 18, 32.9. Now he goes to Denver, tough matchup. Bye week, home against the Chargers, at Minnesota. Okay, week 15. Again, you get that bye. At Vegas doesn't matter. And then 2 juicy matchups, which Washington's not that juicy anymore, and the Giants. And then real quick, just break it down. McCaffrey's schedule. Home against Seattle, at Green Bay, at Buffalo, home against Chicago. Playoffs, home against the Rams, at Miami, home against Detroit. I mean, week 17 is tough, but you'd like to think McCaffrey's matchup proof. And you've seen teams run on Detroit. Not everybody. I mean, Houston didn't this week. But leading into it, week 16 to get to the championship, at Miami, home against the Rams. It's a toss-up. And the fact that I sat on McCaffrey for 9 weeks, just my heart wasn't into it, man.
Hey, I understand. I just, try to present a different option for you.
Sure. So, Dave, I got to ask you, man, in the last, 5 weeks, your team hasn't scored over 130 points.
Oh, damn.
Did you know that?
Yeah. You told me last week it was 4 weeks.
So now you made it 5 weeks. So,
yeah, I played Rodgers. I should have held on to Bo Nix and played Nix. I would have had some points. Amari Cooper got hurt. Just little things.
Yeah, we did that deal. Amari Cooper and Brian Thomas have not played for each other yet. They both have sat out. We'll see if Brian Thomas plays tomorrow night.
Robinson.
We'll see.
Excuse me. Robinson. Thank you. Robinson.
Rob.
Yeah. Dave, are you trying to make a deal, improve your team? I mean, you're 6-4.
before that, Biz, real quick.
Yeah.
Dave asked me the other day, and I'm into brutal honesty, right? Dave asked me the other day, does he have a shot? And I looked at him and I was like, bro, I love you. No. Right? Let's deep dive his team. Do you think he's got a shot?
Oh, what?
Yo, we could deep dive anyway.
I got a
Dave.
shot. Of course I have a shot. Everybody has a shot. There's 12 teams, but I'm not.
He doesn't.
Come on.
Unless I'm mathematically out, I have a shot.
Nick does not have a shot. So there's 11 teams. Let's get that clear.
All right. So I agree. You're right, Dave. Everybody has a shot. But every game's got a
how you feeling about your team, John?
No, Dave. We're talking about your team real quick. Let's break it down.
Go to mine as soon as we get there. I'm down.
I'm just saying, I'm thinking about a few possibilities. But
I love Jordan.
Still figuring out who I'd want to target. At this point of the year, but I'm keeping things flexible. See how it plays out for these bye weeks coming up.
Dave, I've told you I'm interested in AJ Brown. I am willing to pay for him. I'm willing to fix.
Yeah, I'm willing for AJ Brown.
I'm willing to fix your team for AJ Brown. You have good running backs. That's the thing. Jonathan Taylor, James Conner. James Conner just keeps defying all odds. This dude, 5 catches, 80 yards, got in on the ground. Jonathan Taylor had a good week, but Jonathan Taylor has a week 14 bye.
Might not be a bad trade target for you, Dave, because that'd be a little bit of insurance on Connor and a little fun. Sure. Getting a little more work here and there.
Benson, yeah. I mean, it just takes one play.
Yep. Well, again, Jonathan Taylor with a week 14 bye. When's Arizona's bye? This week, week 11. Okay. Ladd McConkey hasn't done shit for you. You're starting Pop Douglas, barf. Westbrook and Keeney, I know it was a 4-start. Laporta got hurt. He's questionable for this week. You got to start Tolbert, AJ Brown. I mean, yeah, you probably need.
Does he have anybody on the bench that was on bye last week?
I dropped.
Oh yeah. So he's got Jaden Reed, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was out. Alexander Madison's a flex piece who was on a bye. Tajay Spears is.
Yeah, I picked up. Let me show you.
And Lockett.
I dropped my kicker for Dawson Knox. I dropped Westbrook Akine for Ertz. Dropped Aaron Rodgers for Bo Nix. And I dropped Tolbert for Thielen, put him on my IR. And I picked up McPherson as my new kicker. So,
yeah, Dave was active. Dave was active yesterday and this morning. But yeah, Dave, I mean, you need a wide receiver. This wide receiver crew is not going to get it done, even with AJ. It's tough because you look at Phil's team. Phil had 41, 33, and then 37. Bass had 13.7, but no one else on his team scored more than double digits. So he had three studs, 30-plus points, 13.7 out of his kicker, and then everyone else kind of flopped. You look, Kyron, 8.7, 9.4, 6, 8.8, 5.4, 6.1, 5.9. I mean, it was 3 guys. But those 3 guys scored, let's say, 41 and 33, so 74. 74 and 37. I mean, it's 100 and what? 111 out of 3 guys. That's almost – I mean, that's 17 points shy of what your whole team scored. I know Rodgers had a bad day, but that's what happens. You need those blow-up weeks.
For sure.
So, yeah, I would say you have a shot. You have a good team. Jaden Reed, though, he's been non-existent the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, they need to get him back into the program.
And you're hoping Jordan Love comes back from this groin injury, but who's to say that's healed? So I like the Bo Nix pickup. Bo Nix has been a QB1, so top 12 QB for the last 6 weeks. All right.
Yeah, Bo Nix has been under the radar as hell this year, man.
Yeah, he's having a really good rookie year, surprisingly, because didn't start that way.
I think he's QB6 from week 6 on.
Wow. Yeah, I'd believe it. The offense looks a lot different too. Firm grasp of the obvious wins again. He's now 5-5 on the year. He's won 3 in a row. RJ's team's on a roll. 142.19. Norm didn't really put up much of a fight. 99.9 falls to 4-6. Jared Goff threw 5 picks. I mean, he did have 2 touchdowns, but 5 picks. It's hard to come back when your quarterback only scores 6.8. RJ, got a modest day out of Mahomes. Kamara's just eating up a ton of touches. Cook got in the end zone. Ridley got in the end zone not once but twice. Kelsey got in the end zone. I mean, touchdowns are what win you fantasy weeks. Rashad White, touchdown. Or bonuses, right? Kareem Hunt had 7 catches for 65 yards. Yeah. I mean, just touchdowns is what beat Norm this week. Norm didn't get a lot of touchdowns, and RJ did. Those 5 picks were huge. I mean, that's 15 points right there. If you take those away or add those back in, that's a 21-point week.
Well, and how many drives does he finish with a touchdown out of those, too? I mean, he could have had a much, much different week.
Yeah. Not to say he would have scored 43 more points to get the win.
Right, no doubt.
It would have looked a lot better for sure. But RJ's on a heater, man. He started 2-0, lost 5 straight, and now has won 3 straight to get back to 500, 5-5 on the season. Make Bears great again, 124.82. In my own way, 132.78. This one was close throughout. 2 teams absolutely needing a win. Jeff falls to 4-6. I think he's lost 2 in a row now after evening up his record at 4-4. And then Rich moves up to 4-6. We've all talked about how good Rich's team is on paper. Now it's stringing together some wins. Let's see. Hold on one sec. Yeah, Jeff has lost 2 in a row now. Rich gets back in the winning column. Despite Jaden Daniels not getting in the end zone, 8.58 to Brock Purdy's almost 33 points. You would look at this top line and think Jeff blew out Rich, and then same with Saquon, only 8 points. Mixon, okay, 16 points, still not great. But where did he make up the points? 18 here with McLaurin. Jeff's team just couldn't score more than 14 points, it looks like. Puka Nacua is what won it on Monday night, 9 for 98. Monty, decent day, 12 points, found the end zone. Arizona defense, we were talking about the Jets in group chat, and someone mentioned like, oh, the Jets are so bad and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, Arizona's actually good. They're making the Jets look bad. Not to say
Arizona's
a
good team.
Not to say the Jets
good.
The Jets haven't needed any help looking bad.
Fair, but Arizona looks the part, man. I mean, they're in first place in the West.
They're fun to watch. They're pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. Rich, gave up 13 points here with Herbert, but really, are you going to sit Jaden Daniels over Herbert? I don't know. Tough matchup this week again, going up against a hot Philly defense tomorrow night on Thursday. So Jeff falls to 4-6. We're going to look at the standings here in just a minute. The teams that are 4-6 are not dead yet, especially if you can get on a heater and put some wins together. All right, John, take us through this debacle. 88.58 to 98. You fall to 5-5. Ricky somehow moves up to 5-5.
Yeah, definitely not the proudest moment of my fantasy career. I obviously the big thing was I rolled the dice on Nico coming back all week. I rejected a bunch of the DK Metcalf for 3 pieces that I could use this week that would have earned me a week, but lost me DK down the line. I kept looking at it and thinking, man, Rick's not going to have the greatest of weeks. And, I think I got a good shot. And the big kick in the dick, obviously, was Sunday night, Nico not coming back. I mean, nobody on either one of our teams, aside from the Vikings D, I think, lived up to any type of potential. Pearsall, yeah.
Pearsall had a solid game, first career touchdown.
Yeah.
Hawkinson, solid. But yeah, your kicker definitely hurt you. He also missed three field
I was
goals.
gonna say, you talked about that. Like, if Koo makes 2 of them, I might win.
Yeah.
Because he missed 2 from 50 plus, and then had the one shorter one blocked. So, and then of course, like I already bitched about that fucking wide open Tank Dell throwing short and getting picked. Like,
Koo never misses. He never misses that many field goals. My goodness gracious.
Koo has done nothing.
He'll never do that again in his career, dude. That was like the only game, John.
That's all he's done the last 5 weeks is miss fucking field goals. Like, I'm about to cut
3
fucker.
or 2 and a block.
It's crazy because you look at this and how it worked out. Yeah, that Tank Dell touchdown would have won you the week.
Yep.
You had Tillman on a bye, Metcalf recovering, but on a bye, and then Nico was inactive. I mean, obviously, missing those 3 guys is huge.
Dave said it, man. Talk my team. Does my team have a shot?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, let's break it down.
Mathematically out.
I mean, CJ Stroud.
Well, how you feel about your team, John? Do you have a shot?
I do think I have a shot. And of course, my gamble right now is that I believe Nico Collins coming back will also make CJ Stroud a better quarterback.
100%.
He's looked good his entire career while having number 12 in there with him. And number 12 has looked fantastic in doing so. So I do believe that if that gamble pays off, my team might not be the easiest team to get out of the way.
Now, the only caveat to that, John, is right here. Week 14.
Yeah.
It might be it's coming down to where it's looking like it's going to be a must win for you, and you're not going to have Stroud, Tank Dell, or Nico Collins all on bye.
And Ramondre.
Wow.
Yeah. And, you sent me one of those DK for 3 dudes deals with the Washington backfield and Taysom. And the biggest reason I couldn't take that is your Washington backfield had the same week 14 bye.
Yep.
I'm not just going to take myself out of the position now. Plus, week 14, I'm playing against Nikki. Love you, Nikki. If there's a week for me to have Nikki, that's the week, right?
Yeah, but who does Miami play? Because we all know he's got a ton of Miami players.
Sure, I looked at that already.
Home against the Jets. Not a great matchup for Miami. Okay. Yeah, I think you do have a shot. I mean, with everybody healthy and everybody playing.
Yeah, going down the lineup, I've got CJ, Josh Jacobs, then CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Cedric Tillman, TJ Hawkinson, or Dalton Kincaid at tight end. They're Spider-Man looking at each other like most of the second-level tight ends.
And you have a top 5 defense.
I've got a top 5 defense. I'll have a new kicker here in just a minute. Like, I think that team could do it.
And the names you just listed, yeah, absolutely. They could catch fire. They just all need to hit or produce. And I think, again, I love a lot of the guys you mentioned. Your team's going to be a tough out for sure if you can make the playoffs. But, I mean, again, it's like Rich's situation. Let's go into the standings here. Because, let's break this one more down, and then we'll get into the standings.
Wow. Carl whipped the ever-loving shit out of him.
Well, we have to pay, respect to the high week. We have to pay respect to the high week on the season.
He's fucking deep-dick this dude.
Well, this was nuts. I mean, it all started on Thursday night. We were all blown away with 51.72 out of Burrow and 59.9. I couldn't believe Chase was just wide open as much as he was. 11 catches, 264, and 3 touchdowns. Huge week. The -3 out of the Baltimore D, man. I mean, Carl could have had a much bigger week. He could have been in 220s if he just had a modest week out of a defense. Marvin Harrison chipped in with a touchdown. Chuba Hubbard had a monster day. I think it was a season or career high, 153 yards rushing against my beloved Giants. Yeah, I mean, that was it. You have over 100 points or 110 points out of two guys. That beat Nick. I mean, by a lot.
No, he didn't. He tripled up Nick.
Yeah, he did.
Tripled up. I don't know that I've ever heard of that before.
I don't know. The lowest week by far against high week on the season. Carl moves up to 7-3. Carl's definitely got one of the best teams, especially when Burrow and Chase hit. And he's
is this 67 low week of the season?
No, I don't think so. I think there was a lower week.
We should start tracking that too.
Yeah, we should. We should.
Seems like there was like a 59.
And you know what? The $100 going to the fucking guy with the high week should be paid by the guy with the low week.
I like that because then there's another $100 for the champ or something like that. I don't mind that. I'm sure guys would be all in for something like that. I mean, Nick's team has just turned into a speed bump this year. 1-9. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. The blueprint failed big time. Look, breaking down the standings here, red flags. It's become – I mean, there's still 4 weeks left. And there's only 3 games separating the top 2 and the bottom 2, so anything can happen. Nobody's safe, right? It's fantasy. Crazy things happen. And there's 4 weeks left in the regular season, 7 weeks left of our season. Keep in mind, though, there's 2 teams that have clearly taken the lead. Phil's got, I think, 86 points on me right now. So he's clearly the front runner. But as I've mentioned before, week 14, we played all our division games in the last 3 weeks. So this week, week 11, is the last week you play someone from a different division. Norm and Jeff are still fighting for their playoff lives, sitting at 4-6. But right now, the 6th place team is 5-5. So they still have a chance. They're only 1 game out of a playoff spot. Mediocreville, Carl, we talked about his team. His team's stacked, stacks on stacks. Clearly in front, has a 2-game advantage over Ryan and Ricky. Ryan right now is the 5th place team. Ricky's the 6th place team.
And he's got points comfortably, right?
I would say, yeah, 1642. He is 140 points more than Phil, who is in 2nd place. But again, 4 weeks. And Carl still has a week 12 bye for Cincinnati. So that could hurt. Ryan, Ricky, and Rich are all duking it out for a playoff spot. If I had to project based on these 3 rosters, Rich has the best roster to make the playoffs. But he's got to win. 4-6. Dave, you're still in 1st place, sitting at 6-4. RJ's moved up, winning 3 in a row. He's at 5-5. He would be in 7th place overall. John, you'd be in 8th place overall. You've lost 2, but like we said, you have had no DK Metcalf and no Nico Collins. They both come back this week. Fingers crossed.
Both of them, they said, were in line to play this week. So
it's looking strong that they're going to play this week. So, yeah, big week ahead. And we're going to go through the matchups here in a little bit. First, we're going to talk about the transactions that occurred. Trades. There's been a few. Wow. There's only been 1 trade this week.
Nothing's happened since the game.
Yes, I sent Tracy to RJ for Jalen Waddle, 1-for-1. That was the only trade this week. Wow.
You got Tracy. I think you said you sent Tracy.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, I got Tracy, gave up Jalen Waddle. Tracy's had a great week, 19-plus points. Again, had that fumble, or he would have had 21, and now he's on a bye.
Nice pickup.
Yeah, I like it. I like their schedule. I like the fact that he's becoming the bell cow. All right, we're going to go into waivers here. I'm just going to rip them off because it's easier to look on the app on the phone. Audric Estime was the high bid this week. Ricky outbid you, John. 43 fake bucks to 40 fake bucks. There's a few others, 20, 20, and 0, 0.
Yep.
How do you feel about losing out to Audric Estime for $3?
I wasn't happy with it, but the biggest thing that I had with my bid was I wanted to outbid Phil because Phil was starting Javonte Williams and I didn't want to give him the option. So my bid was to cover Phil, which I did, but Ricky outbid me. So honestly, I was already talking to Dave about a trade with Estime. If I'd have picked him up, I probably would have moved him.
Okay.
Packaged him up with something, try to get myself a running back that's playing week 14.
Now, Gus Edwards got picked up by Jeff, and that's because he only bid $10. Ricky bid 19, but Ricky's Estime waiver pickup went through. And then a couple $0 bids for Gus Edwards. He looked good coming back. I just still I'm not really high on him. Adonai Mitchell, I'm a big fan of his. McKeever outbid Ryan, but lost it because he had that pickup with Gus. Ryan gets him for 8 fake bucks.
Anthony Richardson's a starter again.
Yeah, he is. Which who knows how that shakes out, man. And if Pittman doesn't play, I mean, Adonai Mitchell is going to get fed. We'll see. Just the source is not quite as strong as it is with Flacco throwing the ball. Russell Wilson, this was interesting. 3 teams bid $0, but RJ got him. It must have come up because
the tiebreaker usually goes to the team lowest in the standings.
Yeah, well, Nick was one of those teams.
I think Nick blew his waiver priority on Marquez Valdez-Scantling at the $0 level.
Perhaps. That one went through. Okay. Marshawn Lloyd got picked up by you, John. Rich swapped out kickers. MVS went to Nicky. He was the only one that bid on MVS. Dave, you mentioned it before. You picked up Dawson Knox, Zach Ertz, Bo Nix, and Thielen. All $0. Then you picked up McPherson. Carl picked up Jerome Ford, dropped Matt Stafford. Then Norm picked up Will Shipley, and then he dropped. Then he picked up Gainwell. Interesting. Not sure why he picked up 2 Philadelphia running backs that are clearly the backups. Is that because something's wrong with Saquon?
I think it's just the roll of the dice because they play the early game.
Yeah.
Because honestly, when he did that, the first thing I did was look up Saquon news to see if there was anything. But no, I think he just did that. They play the Thursday night game, right?
Yeah, that's a division game against Washington.
Right. So I think he's just trying to get ahead of the waiver wire just in case something does happen with Saquon.
Sure. All right, boys. Well, we're going to roll right into week 11. Week 11 coming down the home stretch. There's only 4 weeks left of this regular season. We're going to start it right at the top here. Bing bong, playing stacks on stacks. So Carl's coming off the highest week we've seen all season with the blow up from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. This week, I don't feel great about Thursday night. For some reason, I just hate Thursday nights. I mean, Carl would obviously have a different opinion from last week. But who knows? Maybe Hurts and Smith and Brian Robinson actually plays a fucking game for me. I've got a lot of guys going on Thursday night. Heavy hitters, too, when your quarterback plays. Breaking this down, Jalen Hurts against Washington at home. You got Burrow at Chargers. What do you guys think?
Oh, man.
I think that I would go with the Jalen Hurts side. That game is going to definitely be the more leaning towards a shootout than the Chargers.
Yeah, I would love a shootout in that game.
I don't think the Chargers have given up more than
Burrow.
20 points this year.
Bro looked like he got hurt the last game too. He was holding his ribs on the left side.
Good.
I'll take that.
I would just
right.
that, I think hurts.
He's got to feel a little sting this year. It's been fucking clear fucking sailing for this dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and this is where he could stumble. I mean, if I were able to pull out a win against Carl's been on an absolute heater, right? He's only won 2 in a row, so he lost 3 weeks ago. But
yeah, that was my uppercut.
Yeah, that's right. Same with me. I've won 2 in a row, lost 3 weeks ago. That was to RJ, and part of RJ's 3-game winning streak. If Carl loses this week, keep in mind he's got Burrow on a bye next week.
Who's he play in week 12?
Hold on. And right now, he doesn't have another quarterback on his roster. So, real quick, we'll go to week 12. Carl plays In My Own Way. Rich. And Rich will have a full squad week 12. So, and right now, I mean, you look at the projections in week 12. I mean, that's just looking ahead, but that's a lot of points Carl's got to make up against a tough team. That, I mean, not going too far down the rabbit hole here, but if I were able to pull out a win against Carl, and then Carl faces Rich's team, and Rich's team is fucking stacked, he could be 7-5. Yes, he's got a great team and one of the favorites to win the championship, and I'm just saying.
Well, I'm telling you, last year at the same time, if we hadn't fucked up all the audio and shit, we'd be able to play the tape back where we were saying Carl and Phil, the teams to beat. Yeah. It's like deja vu, man. Someone's going to win the league, and it ain't going to be one of those two.
So running backs, I got CMC playing home against Seattle. Hopefully Brian Robinson plays. If not, let's just sub in Eckler. I know I got Tracy on a bye this week. He's got Jahmyr Gibbs and Cam Akers. I think I have a pretty good – let's just say Brian Robinson's healthy and he plays.
Sure.
Okay. Not expecting a lot, but maybe a touchdown out of Robinson because Washington will move the ball. I'm confident in that.
Yeah, we do have to also wait and see if Aaron Jones is playing.
Right. Well, he's trending towards playing, but they're playing Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee's run defense isn't bad. So either way, it's not going to sway my opinion. I still think Brian Robinson's a better start than Cam Akers. Yeah. If they're both in the lead role. Wide receivers, you got Sun God, Devonta Smith tomorrow night, Jacoby Myers against Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Carl's got a sizable advantage there. If T. Higgins is healthy, especially.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for the feedback.
I don't
sure. Okay.
What were you going to say, John?
I don't think it's that big of a fucking difference. I mean, Amon-Ra versus Chase, little lean Chase. Kupp versus Devonta Smith. That's push. Myers versus T. Higgins. I'd almost lean a little bit Jacoby.
Even if Riddler's starting?
For who?
Las Vegas.
They just announced Gardner starting.
Did they?
Yeah.
I thought earlier today they said the Riddler was getting the start.
I'm almost positive as we were coming on air.
I thought it was Gardner.
Yeah.
That would be huge. That's who I want to start.
Yo, Vikings, J.J. McCarthy had a second surgery on his right knee this week.
What?
There's only been 3 commanders ruled out for tomorrow so far. Tomorrow. None of them.
Raiders
none of those guys are Brian
Robinson. Raiders start Minshew. And
perfect.
What about this J.J. McCarthy news? That's crazy.
Yeah.
To address swelling.
That's not good. That means they're going to re-sign Sam Darnold. Evan Ingram versus Hunter Henry. I'd like to lean towards Ingram, but Mac Jones looked terrible. You look here. Ingram had 8 targets. Previous week, he had 10 targets. I mean, they're going to be down. They're playing against Detroit. Right now, I'm starting Addison and Dowdle against Cortland Sutton, and he's giving Jerome Ford a start. This is because he's got Chuba on a bye, Marvin Harrison on a bye. I have Tracy on a bye. And he's picked up a couple defenses. I'm honestly leaning towards starting Taysom Hill against Cleveland instead of Jordan Addison.
Why not? Who the fuck else are they going to throw the ball to?
Well, that's just it. And he's been getting – dude, he had 80 –
Jordan Addison's not getting the work, especially now that TJ is back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but Taysom Hill had an 88-yard touchdown called back because of holding this past week.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it, a run or a long?
No, it was a short little out pass. He broke the tackle and he just ran down the sideline. He was gone. Yeah, 88 yards called back because of holding. I mean, he was on my bench, but still. All right, John. Big time matchup here. Sticky Nicky Throw Pie guy. He's won 5 in a row. Can you please break that that win streak?
Y'all tell me. I mean, obviously, I give up the advantage on CJ versus Lamar.
Okay,
no question,
sure.
Right? Even though I do like the matchup, Lamar at Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah, so, and you're playing at Dallas. That's juicy.
That for sure, but he still gets an edge there. Not that matchup isn't going to overtake Lamar. You know, we're still talking about the MVP.
Sure.
Yeah.
Bijan and Kyron definitely have the edge over Jacobs and Stevenson.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
All right.
Now, Tank Dell, Cedric Tillman, DK Metcalf against Shakir, Flowers, and Devontae. You have a clear edge here, I think. Personally, you got that revenge game for Jameis in New Orleans. I think he's going to have a big game, which means Tillman should have a big game. Tight ends, Hawkinson and Pitts. I like Hawkinson way more than Pitts. Plus, Pitts is playing in a tough matchup against Denver. And then your flexes blow his flexes out of the water. It's not even close.
Oh, Denver's defense versus tight ends is one of the worst in the league.
And, give me my defense too, man.
Well, hold on. Plus, you got the hammer because Stroud, Dell, Lamb, and Collins all play on Monday night. So, obviously, you're going to be down some points, but this should be fun. And then you've got Minnesota playing at Tennessee, and he's starting Philly against Washington. Yeah, that's going to be a telltale sign tomorrow night. See if Washington can move the ball against Philly. Philly's defense has been playing great the last couple of weeks. However, I mean, you look at these teams that they've played. Here we go. After the bye week, Cleveland, 14 points. Giants, 32. At Cincinnati, they did well against Cincinnati. Second half, they came out and just blew them out of the water offensively and defensively. 17 against Jacksonville. And then at Dallas with Cooper Rush. So now they're playing on a short week against the legitimate offense. We'll see how they do. Yeah, I think you have a legit shot to win. I mean, the projection says so, but again, I'm fighting Phil for this division. We both have tough matchups this week. Him playing your team, getting DK and Collins back, which also bumps up Stroud. And then I'm playing Carl, and Carl's team's on a heater. So is Phil's. Let's go, John. Me and you, buddy.
Yeah, man. Let's go busy.
Let's pull out some wins this week, brother. All right, Business Ethics against White Boy Rick. This is a monster matchup for playoff implications. Dave, you're 6-4 going up against White Boy Rick, who 98-point victory last week is 5-5. How do you feel, Dave? Talk me through this.
Feeling pretty good, Biz. You know, I have
you're gonna score 130. You're gonna score 130 this week.
Yeah, that's the plan here.
150.
Hopefully, the struggles of the Bears offense gets to the defense as well, and maybe Love and Reed can get back together on the same page again, like beginning of the year when they're connecting. A to B. So, I like the way Taylor's running right now. I mean, he had that nice run in that first game or the last game, and against that Jets D, I like that matchup a lot. I think he can do some damage on that Jets defense.
Except AR is behind center.
I'm without Connor, but it's all right. I got a good matchup with Brown. Laporta may not play this week. Hopefully, Cooper gets back in the game this week as well. And maybe the Chargers will not hand the ball off to Gus Edwards this week and let Herbie just throw. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, big game this week.
Let's break it down. I mean, he's sitting ETN, who's playing against Detroit. Keon Coleman's out, and Njoku he's sitting as of today. Those are really the key players that are out for him. You obviously have James Conner on a bye, and everybody else is sittable for sure. I look at this, and Dave or John, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like besides Bowers versus Laporta, because if Laporta doesn't play, I still like Bowers against the Miami defense more than Laporta. I think you have an edge at every position except for quarterback.
I
don't know. John, what do you think?
I mean, he definitely has the edge. Ricky has the edge at quarterback, Allen versus Love, especially in the matchup. I don't love the Chicago matchup, where I do kind of like Josh Allen in a big game against Kansas City to put up some numbers, right?
In Buffalo.
Right, at home. Oh, yeah, it's at home, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Taylor and Madison versus Hall and Estime, that's a straight-ass push, dude. That's even. What do we have on the wide receivers again?
So the wide receivers, it's got A.J. Brown, Jaden Reed, Tyler Lockett going against Garrett Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins, and George Pickens.
Dave's got a very heavy top two, in my opinion. But I think Lockett falls way off behind any three of those guys.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So, again, I'm almost going to say that's a push with a slight tilt towards Dave.
Yeah, and then Laporta, Bowers, we don't need to break that down.
Yeah, Bowers all the way.
Let's say Amari plays Lad McConkey on Sunday night against Pearsall and Chubb. I mean, it's close. I'm not saying it's a clear-cut advantage for Dave. I just think if we're leaning one way overall, I'm leaning towards Dave's team overall. Detroit against Jacksonville, that's a juicy matchup with Mac Jones as quarterback. And then he's got New Orleans home against Cleveland. So this is going to be a tough match. It's going to be tight. I mean, and projections are right on. I mean, 50-50. So, Dave, good luck this week. I don't want to say it's a must-win, but it's a must-win for your team. And it's a must-score 150 points.
I agree.
You can't score 130 and get away with a win this week, I don't think. Jeff gets a bye week this week. Just let's break it down. Purdy over Tua. Let's say Aaron Jones plays and Swift against Miami's backfield. I mean, Mostert didn't even get a carry the other night. I don't know how Nick can start Mostert. And then London, Samuel, and Darnell against Brian Thomas, Odunze, and Hill. Unless there's sudden changes in Chicago, I don't see any way that those three are going to beat up on Jeff's. Tucker Kraft, Mark Andrews, push, Ish. Cole Kmet getting the start for Nicky. Najee against Judy and Jennings. I think.
I don't know if Najee's even playing this week.
Me too. And it's a tough matchup against Baltimore's run defense.
Yeah.
This might be tough. And then Nick's got the Jets defense against Indy. And right now, Jeff is starting Pittsburgh against Baltimore. Does Jeff have another defense? He does not. He's got Trey McBride on a bye. He's got Slayton on his roster. I don't know what he's doing. So I would give this edge to Jeff. I'm hoping Nick can get his second win of the year. Again, Jeff is in my division. I'm rooting against everybody in my division. Sorry, Jeff. I know you need the win. You just one win or one game out of a playoff spot plus points. So we'll see. All right, we got 2 more matchups here. These are both huge matchups where one team is 5-5, the other team's 4-6. Let's start with this one. Raw dogging it, 5-5 against STD Buckets. It's 4-6. It's been a rough year for Norm. He was 0-2. He battled back to 4-4, and now he's lost 2 in a row. He's 4-6. Whereas Ryan, he's been 1 win, 1 loss, 1 win, 1 loss, hence the 5-5 record. Let's break this down, boys. You got Geno Smith at San Francisco, Jared Goff home in the Dome against Jacksonville.
Give me Goff.
Goffy.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Goff. Backfield, Derrick Henry and Kenneth Walker, J.K. Dobbins and Chase Brown. I mean, I think I'm leaning heavy towards Ryan here.
I lean towards Ryan, but it's closer than it looks. Well, no, JK's losing some work too, man. So actually, I'm going to say it leans a little more towards Ryan.
Yep. And you got Kenneth Walker coming off a bye.
I like
wide receivers. This is ugly. Wow. J-Mo, Pittman, if he plays, JSN, DJ Moore, Downs, and Worthy. Ooh. Pick them? I don't know. It just this is ugly, boys.
You mean J-Mo and JSN?
Right off the bat, we got Downs, who is way over Pittman, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think with DK Metcalf coming back, there's maybe a tiny edge towards JSN over Worthy.
Yeah, but look, hold on a second, though. Look what Worthy's done in the last 2 weeks. Two targets, nothing. 4 targets, 1 catch for 11 yards. And even before that, without the touchdown, 4 for 37, 3 for 19. Like, what are we talking about here? 3 for 25. Worthy is below average. I would take JSN over Worthy. And then J-Mo and DJ Moore. I mean, again, you don't know what Chicago's offense is going to look like. We kind of know what Jameson Williams' role is in the offense. One big play. That's all he needs.
Yeah.
So I slightly lean. It's not a big lean, but I slightly lean towards the Jameson Williams, Pittman, JSN side for Ryan.
I don't know, man. Oh, so bad. Like,
it's bad.
I got J-Mo and JSN.
Is getting nothing, and we didn't even talk about the fact that they just said Anthony Richards is a starter for the rest of the season.
Yep. Hey, who knows? Maybe he's going to come out slinging. We don't know. And
that shit.
Or running.
It's the same with Chicago. I mean, what is Chicago's offense going to look like? I mean, they didn't just drop like magic pixie dust on the offensive line, like overnight. That offensive line is terrible. I know you can change the play calls, but that offensive line is terrible.
Bad.
One of the worst in the league, if not the worst in the league.
Patriots got like 8 sacks on the offense last week.
Yeah, it seemed like every highlight I saw or every play, Caleb was getting dropped. What's worse, though, is the culture. Not a single Bear came over to pick up Caleb. Does that mean he's in the locker room crying like a little bitch?
Maybe.
I mean, you see his body language when he's out there. He's got the body language of a spoiled little bitch, man. It sucks.
I mean, he paints his fucking fingernails, guys. What are we doing?
Yeah, the Patriots players were lifting up Caleb off the ground after they were sacking him in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that's what I'm referring. Yeah, exactly. Like, that shouldn't be happening. Offensive line should be the first player there saying, man, I fucked up, my bad. Let me at least scrape you off the turf.
Push off that
they don't
line off the quarterback and get
that
the
offensive
off the quarterback.
line.
You're right. They don't give a shit about him. And what's crazy is the beginning of the year and you had Hard Knocks. It seemed like there was a decent culture and everyone was rallying around the rookie. But like I said, maybe he's a little bitch. We don't know.
I think we do know.
I mean, the same shit happened at USC
for a while. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
The offensive line wasn't blocking for him at USC either. If you're gonna just run your mouth and be a pouty little bitch, those big old linemen, they're not gonna play for you.
Yo, look at the difference in his demeanor versus Jaden. Look at the way Jaden is on the field. You don't see any of that bullshit, man.
No. Jaden's a winner. Fucking love him. Yeah. Jaden Daniels for Trevor Lawrence and Tank Dell for Chris Olave on draft night. Ugh.
Yeah, man, you hitched that wagon to AR5, bro. Imagine if you had done the other way. Like, seriously, imagine not taking AR5 at all and what you would have had in that draft and just go with Jaden late.
Yeah, two monumental mistakes for the first half of the season defined my team through 10 weeks, and that was drafting CMC and then doing that deal with Rich after a few whiskeys. Hey, you make bad decisions, man. It happens. But my team's battled through. I was able to pick up Hurts. Hurts has single-handedly won me a couple weeks, which a top quarterback will do.
Yep.
And now CMC's back. So fingers crossed. We'll see. I feel good about where my team's at, with the adversity. I mean, shit, dude, I lost Rashee Rice, which was probably going to be highlighted as one of the better picks in the draft.
We all lost shit to injury this year, man. Ain't nobody escape it.
No. But I'm talking specifically. Well, he had Cooper Kupp go down, and
he could have been wide receiver 1.
And T. Higgins has been in and out of the lineup, so he's dealt with it too. But Chuba Hubbard was one of the best picks in the draft.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I think he was round 10, if I'm not mistaken, or 12.
So real quick, looking at this, he's got Robinson and Jalen Warren. Now, if Najee's out, that Jalen Warren projection is going to go up against Pollard. Pollard's playing home against Minnesota. And now that Spears is back, last week Pollard's snap percentage went down. You look at this, he only played 54% of snaps last week. That's a red flag. Dallas Goedert. This one's pretty close to a push. Najee's out. It's definitely a push, in my opinion. Moving on, they both have good defensive matchups. Green Bay at Chicago or Houston at Dallas Monday night. What do you guys prefer out of those two if you had to pick one?
Damn,
Green Bay and Chicago.
Huh?
Green Bay.
Dave?
Green Bay.
I would take Houston. Cooper Rush did not show me anything last week. Did not.
Yeah, well, Caleb Williams has not showed you something for like 10 weeks.
Fair point. Did you know that Caleb Williams and Bryce Young from last year at this point in the season, their numbers are almost identical?
Really?
Just, yeah, put it there. And Caleb had that one monster week, right, where they lost, but it was in a comeback fashion where he threw for, 354 and 3, and everyone was like, oh, he's the next coming.
And Nicky's like, let me go ahead and hitch to that wagon.
Yeah, smart move on Phil's part. He sold high as soon as he could.
Man, Phil, we laughed when he wasted that draft pick, too, and he ended up milking something out of Nicky for it. And you know what he milked out of him? Isaiah Pacheco, who's coming back soon.
Pacheco, yeah. They just opened the 21-day window. They did say he's not going to play this week. My thought is he comes back week 14 the earliest.
Sure, but I also think there could be a ramp-up period at that point where, like, their main goal is to have him ready to go and conditioned for the playoffs.
Yeah. Plus, Kareem Hunt's done an admirable job in the backfield.
Right. They're not going to just yank the carpet out from him unless there's a reason to.
Yes, exactly. All right, last matchup for week 11, boys. Here we go. I'm going to call this one the matchup of game of the week because this is must win for both teams. RJ, firm grasp of the obvious, is 5-5. He's won 3 straight. In my own way, Rich got back in the winning side of things. 4-6. We've talked about Rich's lineup on paper. If he could just get out of his own way, I mean, his team's aptly named. He could be 6-4, if not 7-3, or even 8-2, because his roster is that good. Let's break it down. Pat Mahomes. We talked about this matchup at Buffalo against Jaden Daniels at Philly, division game tomorrow night. Who do you got?
Jaden.
John?
Jaden,
all day. Running backs. James Cook, Kamara. Cook's also in that Kansas City Buffalo game, Kamara's playing at home against Cleveland, and then you got Saquon and Mixon. Saquon tomorrow night against Washington at home. Mixon on the road at Dallas. Where are you leaning? This is good for running backs.
Saquon, Mixon.
Rich's side.
Yeah, I would lean towards Rich's side. Saquon didn't do shit last week, nor did Mixon, really. Mixon, his yards per carry were not good against a tough Detroit defense, but give me Mixon and Saquon. Wide receivers, Calvin Ridley, Christian Watson, Jalen Waddle, McLaurin, Nakua, and Jay Jetta. I don't think we really need to break this down. I think we're all leaning towards Rich. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Really.
Kelsey and Freiermuth, Edge Kelsey. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Heavily.
Okay. Dobbs and Kareem Hunt against Elijah Moore and David Montgomery.
Monty
Moore.
Monty Moore. Okay. Yeah, I think it's close because Dobbs is coming off a bye. He's been highly targeted over the last few weeks going into their bye. Kareem Hunt is a bell cow. Tough matchup at Buffalo, but okay. And then defenses. RJ's got San Francisco playing home against Seattle, and then Rich has Cincinnati at the Chargers. Give me San Francisco.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah, San Francisco, but I wonder if Rich might be able to do something about that defense.
I mean, San Fran, Seattle might be a shootout, though. I don't know. Something tells me that could be a shootout.
It's true with DK coming back. You know,
they're trying to get CMC back into the game. I mean, what better way than against Seattle and just let it go?
Big time division matchup too with those two teams.
Yeah.
Arizona's on a bye. This is Rich's other defensive options, and then he's got the Seattle D at San Francisco. So out of those three, he's probably making the right call, starting Cincinnati at the Chargers.
Yo, Rich, if you want the Miami D, hit me up, dog. They're playing against the Raiders.
Juicy.
Hit me up.
So
that W.
Overall, I think all three of us are leaning towards Rich in my own way, getting the win. Projections say the same. But RJ's team's been on a heater. He's won 3 straight. This is the matchup that Rich needs to win. Absolutely needs to win. He's had a couple tough losses this year.
And, I bet Dave up there can agree with me. We need Rich to win, right, Dave?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Yeah. But again, you look at some of these matchups in our league: 5-5, 4-6, 5-5, 4-6, 4-6 against the worst team in the league, 6-4 versus 5-5, 5-5 versus 7-3, and then 7-3 versus 7-3. There's some big time matchups here. Week 11. This is definitely one of those weeks that we could look back on at the end of the regular season and say that this is the week that determined division championships, bye weeks, who's going into the losers bracket, so on and so forth. I mean, our league is so bunched. Again,
I don't know. I feel like I need to win 3 games out of 4 to get in. And it's fucking crazy, and I could end up winning 3 games and not make it.
Teams that are fighting for the playoff spot, 9, 10, and 11 ranked right now in our league are all 4-6, which is only 1 game from a 5-5 record in a playoff spot. Then you have John at 5-5. He's in 8th. 7th place is
RJ 5-5.
5-5. Very bunched. 6th place is 5-5. 5th place is 5-5. 4th place is 6-4, and then you have 3 teams at 7-3. Like, this is one of the more competitive seasons we've seen. No team has really taken off and run with it. I mean, we talked about Carl's team, how stacked on stacks he is. But if I were able to come out with a victory this week, he'd be 7-4. Then his Cincinnati Bengals, which is T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Burrow, are all on bye week 12, and he's playing Rich's team week 12. He could be 7-5 real quick.
Sure.
Real quick. And next week we start divisions. So anything can happen when you play in the divisions. Guys, do you have any parting shots for this week? I know this is a big week for everybody.
I'm going to fuck you up, Phil.
Yeah, this is crunch time for sure, and it's do or die time. So we're running out of time here, and no time to take time for granted anymore. So let's fire it
No,
up.
no time to take time for granted. Another one. Right down the middle, Dave. Love it.
Wah.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Yeah, man. And like Carl, let's go, bro. Like two of the original founding members of this league. This is what it's all about. Week 11, both teams are 7-3, trying to make an imprint on the playoffs and potentially a championship. Let's fucking go. I feel good about my team this week. I do. I'm not going to make any projection or predictions, but I feel pretty damn good about my squad, my matchups, and we'll see. We'll see what Stacks on Stacks has in store this week. It all starts tomorrow night, boys. All right. Good luck. We'll see you guys soon. We'll see you next week. Y'all have a good week. Cheers.
Peace.